Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and I'm going to talk about David Haye and the fact that he's apparently going to be getting a title shot, WBA regular title in 2017. I read an article on Sky Sports website, saying that Lucas Brown had reached an agreement with the WBA that he was going to receive another title shot after being stripped for failing a drugs test against Chagayev in Chechnya. Apparently, the opponent's going to be Freza Kendo. Um, but a couple of things I'm not sure if he's the president, or I'm not entirely sure what the job title is, but the boss, basically, or at least the spokesman for the WBA. Couple of slightly dodgy comments. The first one saying that they think it's going to be very difficult to promote the fight. I know Lucas Brown is with Ricky Hatton, who's not a big promoter. He doesn't have a lot of money behind him, doesn't have a broadcaster behind him as far as I'm aware. He's Australian, he's fought a few times in the UK, presumably other places as well, in Australia no doubt, but he's not a massive draw. He doesn't have a big name, big profile, he doesn't bring that much to the table from their perspective, financially speaking. Freza Kendo, I don't know that much about him, but I think he's Puerto Rican, um, based in the US, maybe he's American, I don't know. But yeah, again, he's not a big name, doesn't have a big following, not particularly glamorous from the WBA's perspective. So another comment he said was, "Oh, we would love to have David Haye as our champion." Um, could be like a kind of passing comment off the cuff on a kind of personal level from him, but it's not the kind of language that I would like to hear if I was Lucas Brown, Freza Kendo, or any other competitor that was potentially going to be challenging David Haye. I don't really want to hear um, officials within organisation governing bodies alluding to at least favouritism based on popularity, and that's not really, from a sporting perspective, the kind of language that I would like to hear. Maybe I'm reading a bit too much into it, but yeah, it's not ideal. But then when you see that David Haye is ranked in the top five, I think the WBC, I think he's ranked number 6, but WBO, WBA, IBF, he's in the top 5 now. Yeah, I don't think I'm the only one who slightly surprised at that. Since he's come back, since he fought Derek Chisora, however many years ago that was, he came back and he's fought two people who nobody had ever heard of, complete mismatches, um, didn't really show us anything. Um, the first one, I think, was 2 rounds, possibly even one. I don't remember. The second one was, well, one of them was 1 round, one of them was 2 rounds. I don't remember. They were both total mismatches. Um, they weren't ranked. They didn't tell us anything about him. So for him to be in the top 5, you've got to ask questions as to why that is the case. And presumably, this is an indication of what that's about. They're saying we want David Haye. We would love David Haye to be our champion. So obviously they're thinking he's a big name, big profile. He can bring money in, and that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? So he's in there. He's in the top 5. It is what it is. It's not the real world title anyway. It's the regular title. So similar to what Danny Jacobs has got, nobody's really going to consider him as a champion. They'll know that Tyson Fury is a champion, but it will nevertheless give him a platform to potentially move on to bigger and better things. In terms of David Haye back in the mix, okay, it's not really fair that he's in the top 5. I think that I prefer to see people who deserve people who work hard for stuff and they put the effort in, put the work in, and I like to see people rewarded for what they do, and not just. I don't really, to be honest, I don't mind seeing people given opportunities they don't deserve. What I don't like seeing is people not being given opportunities that they deserve. So that's more, I prefer to look at it like that, to be honest. So there are quite a lot of other people you think like could really or should really be, more deserving of a title shot than him, based on the last 2 or 3 years at least. So, well, it is what it is. He's there. Personally, I think it's good. I think it'd be quite good for the heavyweight division to have him back in the mix, particularly from a UK perspective. Um, in terms of like, assuming that he gets this, assuming this does happen, assuming that he does beat Lucas Brown or Fraser Kendo, which it's obviously not a given. We don't really know how good David Haye is anymore, but I definitely favour him to beat Lucas Brown based on what I've seen of him. Just how slow he is. He's obviously a hard puncher, and we don't know what David Haye is going to be like. But I just think like to beat David Haye, you can't afford to not be able to avoid some of his punches. So I think he should be the favourite in that fight, in either of those fights, and it looks like the deck will be stacked in his favour based on what we've seen so far and the comments that we've heard anyway. David Haye, I made a video before about him and Shannon Briggs, about him ducking Shannon Briggs, which it's very difficult to argue that he hasn't. He used Shannon Briggs' name, well, not his name, he used Shannon Briggs on his undercard to help sell it. He even suggested that he was going to be fighting someone a lot bigger to make it sound more competitive. I can't remember the Ukrainian that Huey Fury beat. I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, he said fight on my undercard and I'll fight you. Hasn't materialised. It looks to me now like he's going to be trying to wait out the winner of this fight, and that's the route that he's going to go down. If he can get a fight in between that, I doubt it's going to be Shannon Briggs. I said before, I don't think he really fancies it with the champ. I don't think he likes I don't think he'll like the banter. I don't think he'll really need the build up. And the actual fight itself is dangerous. Now, we don't know how good David Haye is anymore. We know that Shannon Briggs is a very dangerous opponent for a couple of rounds at least, possibly more. But yeah, I don't think that David Haye will be taking that challenge. There's been quite a few examples. I mean, this is the thing with David Haye. I mean, in terms of in the ring, he is exciting, isn't he? I mean, he's had a couple of notably the Vladimir Klitschko performance where he kind of let himself down. I think it wasn't as bad as people make out, but I think the fact that he gave it so much talk prior to the fight, I think he gave people the ammunition to really put him down, and really he humbled himself a lot in that fight. And I think that's why he really got the amount of criticism he did have, and people exaggerated that. Generally speaking, he's an exciting fighter. His personality, he's quite likeable, I think. Generally, he speaks quite well. He seems quite nice, really. I mean, when he sort of talks to people, he seems to treat everybody quite well. Not talking about contracts and things like that, because that's obviously another story. But in terms of his personality, he's quite likeable, and there's been a few nice things. I mean, the Nick Blackwell thing was obviously a very nice gesture. A personal story actually myself. I remember when he fought Enzo Maccarinelli. Maybe this was the day it was at MySpace. I had MySpace. I added David Haye after that, and he sent me a private message. Now I'm sure he sent this to everyone who sort of did it. But at the same time, it was quite a nice gesture, and the message was quite the way he did it, and it was kind of seemed quite genuine. And I did think that like he did have at least a very good rapport with his fan and a good appreciation of people. Now you can argue that he hasn't really shown that in recent years with a lot of things, but he, yeah, that was quite a nice gesture. The way he sent that message, it did make you think, yeah, I want to get behind this bloke. He's had quite a few meetings with fans, and he does strike me as a good bloke. I do like him. That said, there are quite a few examples of basically con man stuff. I mean, let's call it what it is. You've got pulling out of various fights. People pull out of fights, but at the very least, you can say it's very, very suspicious the amount of times he's done it and the things that have happened after that to make you think, well, this seems strategic rather than genuine. That's certainly the impression that I've got. It's just happened too many times, and then you see, like, as I say, what happens after that. You just think, this looks a bit suspicious. He was due to fight Tyson Fury twice. The first time he was due to fight Manuel Charr before, and I think that Peter Fury or someone said that we knew that he kind of faked an injury for the Manuel Charr to then fight against us. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly what's happened, but there's certainly quite a few. I think this Shannon Briggs, another example. Quite a lot of stuff where he doesn't seem to have that much integrity when it comes to contracts and his attitude towards agreements that he's made for fights. So that's a criticism of him that I think is kind of. I think it's probably had a lot to do with the fact that he's fighting now on Dave TV. Do they trust him? Do the Sky Sports people like that? Do they really trust him? I don't know. They probably think like, do we really want to work with this man? So he has to kind of get himself back into that position. So yeah, if he does become the WBA regular champion, how do I think he would do against the other champions? Well, it's very difficult to tell because since he's been back and he was out for a long time, he's got older. He had a serious injury apparently. I say apparently because a few people have suggested that he didn't. I don't know. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just putting it out there that there is that allegation. He's a couple of years older now. He's big. He's quite a lot bigger. He's bulked up quite a bit. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's difficult to really tell because the two people that he's fought have just been sort of knockover jobs. I mean, he just come in. One of them just jabbed, he literally knocked one of them down with a jab, didn't he? The other one, first punch he hit him with, the bloke was like, "Whoa, I don't need this. I'm looking for a way out." So we don't really know anything about him until he's in there with a live opponent. So really all we can do at this stage is speculate. Against Tyson Fury, I don't think he'd have any chance at all really. Short from like landing a big punch like anyone. But even when he was signed to fight Tyson Fury the first time, and this was before Tyson Fury had proven himself to the extent that he has now, I couldn't see him beating Fury. I didn't, stylistically, I thought he's too small, doesn't have enough strings to his bow. He's a bit of a one-trick pony, really, David Haye. He does what he does very well, but I'd see it being quite similar to the Klitschko fight, like Fury just from range, and if he needs to, get in the close with him and just bully him and just knock him about. Really, I couldn't see David. I couldn't see it then. I certainly can't see it now. Unless he's improved. I mean, he's got a new trainer. Even if he has improved, I don't see him beating Tyson Fury. Possibly he has got slightly better. We'll see. Against Deontay Wilder. The Deontay Wilder that fought Chris Arreola, absolutely, he has a chance because Chris Arreola managed to close a distance with no head movement, not like blocking anything, not literally just coming in like this, and he still got in and managed to unload. So that Deontay Wilder, I'd give David Haye a good chance. But I think that was a bad night for Deontay Wilder, and I think Well, the Deontay Wilder that fought Romain Stavern, I don't think David Haye would beat. I don't think he'd be able to close the distance. I think Deontay Wilder's long, again, similar to the Vladimir Klitschko, just long, straight punches. David Haye, I don't think would be able to close the distance. I don't think he'd be able to maintain his balance properly. I don't think, I think he'd be too reluctant to really take the chance. You know, the way David Haye fights, he kind of moves about and he tries to get the opponent off balance and then he'll come in. I don't think that he'd be able to do that effectively with Deontay Wilder fighting like that. I think he kept the distance very well, and you know, you're not just going to leap into the eye of the storm like that against someone like Wilder who can just hit you with a long straight right. I think David Haye would be very gun shy in that fight, and I think he'd have too many problems with the range and the movement. So yeah, as I say, the last since then he's kind of looked a bit. That was a good performance for him, but that was against the top opponents. So you'd think that Deontay Wilder, and he's fought one good opponent and he's stepped his game up to do it. So you'd hope that he could do that again. Well, unless you were David Haye, but I would expect him to be able to step up his game. Anthony Joshua, possibly. I think out of the three, that's one that he maybe could win. Joshua, as of yet, hasn't shown us that he can box well on the against someone at a moving target. David Haye would need to, I think, show him, move around a lot, try and frustrate him, and I think he'd have a lot more joy in the sense of, kind of moving about, trying to wait for an opening, see Anthony Joshua off balance, and then leap in with a couple of big punches. And I think he could do that a lot more effectively against him than he could with Wilder. I think just for the sort of the range and the speed of the punches coming out from Wilder, I think Joshua's be better, someone who's better kind of coming a bit closer. And that said, I mean, Anthony Joshua is very big, very strong, very powerful, fast hands, getting better all the time, younger, fresher. David Haye used to be able to move very well, but he used to be younger, he used to be lighter. Could he do it now? I don't know. But I would like to see him in all those fights. So personally, I'm quite happy with David Haye getting in the mix. I'd like to see David Haye redeem himself, in the eyes of the British boxing public, because he did, with all his pull-outs and all his kind of big talk. And I think he kind of, people got a bit fed up with him. His comeback has been very underwhelming so far. So if he gets this opportunity, I would like to see him then, definitely get in the mix, go on to bigger and better things. Out of the three, I don't really see him beating. I mean, even Anthony Joshua, I see him as a chance, but the further it goes on, the less chance I give him. So I don't think he's certainly not going to be undisputed like he wanted to be. There's no way he's going to beat Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. I can't see that happening at all. But I'd like to see him give it a go. He could potentially beat one of them, or So yeah, let's see what happens. But yeah, let me know what you lot think about this. Are you happy to see David Haye back in the mix, or do you think he's just been gifted an opportunity that he really doesn't deserve, and you prefer to see someone else get given an opportunity? Well, yeah, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think.